In today's video, we'll be going over the entire legend of the undead god of thunder himself, Zombie Thor. Unlike most of the other heroes we have covered already, Thor did not appear in the Zombies episode of Marvel's What If, but I believe that may have been intentional. Given that Disney recently confirmed an upcoming Marvel Zombies television series coming to Disney+, I think this leaves things open for a major Thor storyline. If this show continues the timeline during What If, then this universe Thor would be in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy, similar to the events of Infinity War. He would then presumably forge Stormbreaker and then come to Earth and hopefully lay waste to the undead hordes roaming it. Not gonna lie, Thor using this awesome new axe to chop up waves of zombies is just the kind of entertainment I need. While the What If universe Thor's fate is unconfirmed at this time, his comic counterpart was infected with a deadly virus that transformed him and the other Marvel heroes into bloodthirsty monsters. His story is sadly not as long as some of the other heroes and villains that we have covered in the past, but it is a bloody good time while it lasts. So without further ado, grab your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the full gory story of Zombie Thor. Who is he? Zombie Thor is one of the many Marvel heroes who was infected by a mysterious plague that transformed him into a flesh-eating, but still intelligent undead monster. He made his first appearance in the pages of Ultimate Fantastic Four number 22 back in 2005. He comes from Earth 2149, but his origins prior to the infection were very similar to his main universe counterpart from Earth 616. However, the gold-haired god life would soon be changed forever when Ash Williams, yes the same character played by Bruce Campbell from the Evil Dead movies, was smacked into this dimension by a zombified version of the Sentry after the two met at the gates of heaven. Being somewhat of a professional in dealing with undead infestations, Ash knew he would need help in dealing with the quickly approaching superpowered zombie and sought out the help of the Avengers. Knowing time was of the essence, Ash, being the manly man that he was, did not ring the doorbell of Avengers Mansion like some wuss. He brought out his iconic boomstick and used it to blow the Avengers intercom to pieces. Attaboy, Ash. That's true alpha energy right there. Rather upset that their fancy intercom was now completely wrecked, Thor and the other Avengers greeted Ash to see just what this seemingly crazy guy needed this badly. Thor even goes and bends the poor guy's boomstick before any more damage could be done with it. Not cool, bro. The Deadite Slayer then tried his best to explain the situation, but due to things not exactly getting off on the right foot, the Avengers just chalked Ash up to being another crazy New York local. Colonel America then had Spider-Man web poor Ash up and take him away to the authorities. Not gonna lie, it looks kinda comfy to just chill in that web sack and get carried around by Spidey. Would definitely make for an interesting ride at Disney World. As Ash got carried away, Jarvis relayed a distress call to the team about strange purple lightning in the middle of New York. Cap and a handful of other Avengers then fired up the Quinjet and headed to the scene to see just what was the matter. However, the seemingly crazy shotgun guy at the front door ended up being completely right, as the Sentry awaited in a crater in the middle of the city. The hungry hero then woke up and viciously attacked Cap and the others, infecting them with the virus in the process. Almost instantly, these heroes turned into ravenous cannibals, gobbling up any terrified nearby citizen. The likes of Thor and Iron Man did not go on this mission, and thus were not present for Ground Zero of the infection. As the pandemic spread, Thor joined the ranks of Nova, who fought against the undead in the city streets. Probably being one of the most savage fighters, Thor proceeded to smack, zap, and bash out the brains of several super zombies. Dude is amazing. In my own personal headcanon, I picture Immigrant Song just blaring as he pulverizes groups of enemies, similar to that scene in Thor Ragnarok. Definitely one of the best MCU scenes, and overall best MCU movies in general. Thor then meets up with the Fantastic Four as they fly to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier. It is here that they, and just about every non-infected superpowered being, then meets up with Nick Fury as they discuss strategy on how to deal with this quickly growing threat. Since he was one of the most powerful resistance fighters, Thor was part of a ground team sent to fight the super zombies and rescue survivors. On one of his missions, he was so brutal that he even caved in Zombie Abomination's head with his hammer. My boy Thor doing things that not even the Hulk could do. The zombie war then spread to the center of the city, where Thor unmercifully whacked Black Knight's jaw right off his face. Not so pretty now, are you, Kit Harington? Just kidding. I still love you, bro. However, things quickly got out of control as the infected gained the upper hand, causing Thor and the others to retreat. It was during these battles that the brilliant minds of Tony Stark and Reed Richards were tasked with finding scientific solutions to the zombie threat. Tony was charged with creating a multiversal portal to lead survivors to safety, while Reed was tasked with finding a potential cure to the virus. While things were looking promising with Tony's completion of the portal, Reed sadly took a turn to the dark side after his child was eaten by a zombified She-Hulk. Completely traumatized by the event, Reed's studies of the virus caused him to go crazy, where he thought the plague was the next step in evolution. He then proceeded to infect his fellow Fantastic Four members, who in turn infected him. Reed may just be the only person I have seen in this whole series who straight up smiles as he gets bitten. Dude's definitely fully lost his stretchy marbles. The newly zombified Frightful Four then burst into the room where Stark's teleporter was, delighted that they now had access to a whole multiverse of delicious people to eat. Wishing to add Stark's brilliant mind to their cannibal agenda, the four infect Tony before he could reach his armor, much to the horror of Nick Fury, who escaped the bloody scene. Thor and a handful of heroes who retreated from the previous battle bump into the panicked Fury near the teleporter. Fury then seals the area off and locks he and the heroes in the room before the Fantastic Four could get through. Knowing that this was the end of their world, Fury decided to enact one final plan to save the multiverse from this unholy threat. He then instructs the Thunder God to destroy the portal before the zombies could get through. Thor then literally brings the hammer down and with all his might pulverizes the machine just as the Frightful Four break down the door. Angered at their infinite snack popper being destroyed, the Cannibal Four then gobble up Nick Fury for halting their plans and proceed to infect Thor and the remaining superheroes present. The newly zombified son of Odin then joins the Undead Legion along with Reed as they plan to fix the destroyed portal and go throughout the earth, spreading the infection to all in their path. R.I.P. human Thor. Hey man, even as a zombie, you're still buff and have the best hair ever. Most Beautiful Zombie Award definitely goes to Undead Chris Hemsworth here. Given his newly infected state, Thor became unworthy of his hammer and thus could no longer wield it. Not letting that stop him, Thor put his brilliant mind to use and made the next best weapon he could, which was a cinder block fastened to a pipe. Gotta say, I love Ghetto Mjolnir. You want to put together a budget Thor costume? This is the one, people. Later on, Thor and the others then discovered that an uninfected Doctor Doom was harboring refugees at his castle in Latveria. The former villain and his scientists worked together to construct a portal of their own that would lead the survivors to safety in another dimension. Zombie Colonel America then led Thor and the others in an assault on the fortress so they could sink their teeth into this fleshy foreign cuisine. It is here that we meet up once again with our boy Ash Williams, who also made his way to the castle. He then consulted the evil book known as the Necronomicon to resurrect the half-eaten bodies left behind by the supers to create an undead army of his own. From blowing up intercoms with shotguns to leading full-on zombie armies, Ash just stays winning, people. The Deadite army then make their way to the castle grounds and do battle with Thor and the others to give the survivors time to escape. Sadly, these regular zombies were no match for the superpowered heroes, but that was a-okay because it gave Doom just enough time to get everyone through. He then used his powers to destroy the portal just as the hungry Avengers kicked down the door. However, this did not stop the likes of Zombie Reed, who took the parts from this machine and used it to repair the initial one that was destroyed by Thor. Gotta appreciate his zombie tenacity, folks. He was then able to use the device to communicate with a younger version of himself from the Ultimate Dimension. Using a hologram to disguise himself as still human, Zombie Reed then managed to trick Ultimate Reed to come to this world, proposing that the two could work on projects together. Totally hyped to hang out with the older version of himself, Ultimate Reed then used his portal to transport himself to the zombie dimension, only to discover that he had been tricked, backstabbed, and quite possibly bamboozled. The traumatized young Reed is then relentlessly chased by the frightful Thor, where he escapes to the nearby sewers. Thinking he had gotten away, this Reed's anxiety only doubled, where he was then cornered by Zombie Thor and a gang of hungry heroes who were absolutely pleased to see some fresh meat show up after all this time. Just before they could help themselves, Thor and the others then looked up in horror as they saw basically an entire car lot's worth of vehicles began hovering in the skies above them. The vehicles then came crashing down into the streets below, squashing and blowing up several undead in the process. The race car rainstorm came from the mutant Magneto, who was one of the main resistance fighters at the time. He then led the young Reed to the New York subway station, where he was protecting a small band of survivors. Just as they caught their breath, zombie Wolverine sniffed out their tasty living flesh. He then led Thor and the boys to the tunnels, who were all ready to help themselves to some tasty Subway. You see what I did there? Cause like, Subway, the restaurant, and they're zombies in a Subway. You know what? I'll see myself out. Not about to be turned into a meatball sub just yet, Magneto then used his powers to hurl one of the underground trains at Thor and the others, knocking them out cold. With the aid of young Reed and the other Ultimate Fantastic Four members, Magneto and the remaining humans then escaped to the multiversal portal. As Reed and the others got through, Magneto, being the true king he was, opted to stay behind so he could seal things off from the Horde and keep the multiverse safe. The group then say their goodbyes as Magneto blows the device up, locking himself in this hellish dimension with the hungry heroes. As he awakens, the mutant finds himself surrounded by Thor and a handful of hangry Avengers who were quite peeved at the guy for shutting down the multiversal buffet. Being extremely exhausted, but too angry to die, Magneto then unleashed a swarm of metal shrapnel at the zombies, tearing through the skin of Thor and the others, even causing a beam to lodge right through Daredevil's heart. Bet you didn't see that one coming, Daredevil. Get it? Because he's blind? Sorry guys. I'll behave this time. I promise. Just before he could get away, Magneto is then struck in the side by one of Hawkeye's arrows as he is cornered by Thor and the others. Thor then proceeds to gloat, telling the mutant that he was done for, only for Magneto to use his powers to rip Hawkeye's arrow from his side and launch it directly into the Thunder God's throat. Sorry, Chris Hemsworth. Now no one can hear that sultry Australian accent of yours. Sorry, mate. Magneto then uses his abilities to collapse an entire building upon the newly mute Thor and a handful of fellow heroes. Surprised at his own beastly actions, the mutant then proceeds to brag about how awesome he was, only for Wasp to sneak up behind him and bite the dude's throat out. See man, you gotta get away safely first, and then you could gloat. There's an order to these things. Still a little angry about the arrow lodged in his neck, Thor then plows his way through the crowd, ready to get his first dibs on the Magnetic Master. Just before he can get a nibble, Zombie Hulk then leaps into the fray and completely rips Magneto's leg off, declaring that it was his. Upset that all he got was a leg, Hulk then watched on in jealousy as Thor and the other Avengers tore into the poor mutant, marking a brutal end of the former X-Men villain. R.I.P. homie. After this magnetic appetizer, Thor and the others kicked back, complaining that they were still hungry. The feast caused the Incredible Hulk's hangriness to wear off, causing him to revert back into zombie Bruce Banner. However, his regular human stomach could not handle the entire mutant leg he just ate, causing it to bloat and contort as he felt the excess bones all rattling around in there. Knowing that his organs would soon erupt, Banner pleaded for one of the others to attack him so he could turn back into the Hulk before this could happen. Thor, being the best bud that he was, then whacked Banner in the face with his ghetto hammer to see if that would do the trick. He hit Banner so hard that it disfigured him and even caused his speech to slur. Honestly, you hit anything with a cinder block, it's not having a good time afterwards. Despite this honest and sweet attempt, it did not work as a bone protruded through and tore Banner's stomach open, causing all sorts of rotted green blood and pus to come pouring out. It was kind of like that episode of SpongeBob where he gets a sliver out, but somehow even worse. As Banner cried over his busted belly, the other zombies also cried, thinking that Magneto was the last of their food supply. Just as they thought all hope was lost, the zombie spirits were then revived, where they saw none other than the Silver Surfer, who arrived to the planet. He used the blinding flash of light in the sky to get the boys' attention, where he told them that his master Galactus would soon arrive to the Earth to consume it. Just seeing a tasty aluminum foil wrapped lunch, the zombies ignored the guy and attacked. However, the Surfer proved he was more than a pretty face, as he began blasting the hordes with his cosmic energy. Seeing this guy was completely owning this round of COD zombies, Thor then got the high ground and came crashing down upon the Surfer with his ghetto hammer, knocking the shiny boy off his board and sending him hurtling to the ground below. However, this did not stop the chrome-plated Herald, as he just got back up and continued blasting. Silver Surfer definitely has Black Air Force One energy in this series. Despite being the total beast he was, the Surfer was no match for an out-of-control zombie Hulk, who arrived to the scene, grabbed the poor dude, and bit his head right off its sparkly body. Giant Man, Spider-Man, and a handful of other heroes then managed to shove their way through the crowds to get a taste of this out-of-this-world meal. Upon completion of their zesty space feast, Colonel America and the others realized they inherited the Surfer's powers, which allowed them to shoot powerful cosmic blasts of their own out of their hands. Realizing that they were now walking, talking air fryers, these new cosmic-powered zombies then decided to use these new abilities to cook and eat their fellow undead to see if it made them taste any better. They then completely decimate their zombie brethren, and the last one to be eaten we see is the charred, mangled corpse of Thor himself, which is tossed to the side by Giant Man, who said that the Thunder God tasted terrible no matter how much he was cooked. And that is the full gory story of Zombie Thor from the Marvel Zombies line of comics. As mentioned before, he did not last as long as some of the other heroes we have covered, but it was definitely a good time while it lasted. It was completely awesome seeing non-infected Thor lay waste to the hordes in the early days of the infection, and it would have been awesome to see more of that. I would also really like to know what happened to the rest of Asgard during this outbreak. Was it impacted? What happened to Thor's real hammer? Perhaps all of this could be used in a potential follow-up comic. Regardless, I love the character of Zombie Thor and hope we get to see the Thunder God return in the upcoming Marvel Zombies animated series. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Did you know this about Zombie Thor? Was there something I missed? Are you excited about the new show? And what other comic character should we cover? Sound off in the comments. Also be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed today's content, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon to be notified of all of our latest videos. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are awesome and loved. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.